All right. Hello, hello, hello. So this is the uh here's the issue with sales and service. Sales wants to go out and sell. Service, on the other hand, has a different motive with how they impact their customers. Um, and there's always that conflict. And so what's going to happen in this next session is that Lisa and Dory are going to talk about how when you pull those two together, um, you win and you increase lifetime value and customer longevity and reduce CAC and all that other stuff. So let me pull Dory and Lisa up on the stage. And ladies, welcome to your session. And I will remove myself from here and you guys can take it away.
All right. You share. All right. Can everybody see the screen? Lori, thumbs up. Can you see?
Thumbs up. We're good.
We are so excited to be here today and welcome everybody. Thank you for the time. The cause is beautiful and our topic is relevant. So we're talking about breaking down those silos between sales and service. How do we really work together to increase those sales close ratios? And then really also talk a little bit about that retention. So we're going to talk about a framework, and Dory will be introducing that. And then I'll close it off and talk about some teamwork. So let's kick it in here. And you know what? The hardest thing that we can do in sales and service is retaining clients, winning them and retaining them. Wouldn't you agree, Dory?
Yes, Lisa. And I think just about everybody listening with us today would agree that those are two really big, major challenges within an MSP. But a lot of times when we look at winning more clients, more new business, we're very focused to increasing lead generation, which of course is super important. But today we're going to kind of flip the script and we're going to talk more about sales conversion rates. Because if you're not doing that, you're really losing, you're actually leaving money on the table. So let's take a look at how that can impact you reaching your growth goals.
So Dory, why don't you share some of those numbers and let's just talk about, hey, there's some real dollars on the table here.
Absolutely. Now, of course, you're going to put your own numbers from your own MSP into these formulas, but let's just say that you're an MSP with about 200,000 MRR. And your growth goal this year is to hit 15% growth, so 30K. And if your average client is maybe 3,000 MRR, give or take, you need roughly 10 new clients in order to hit your growth goal. If you have an average of 24 qualified leads that you're working with, and of course, some of you may have more than that, some of you may have less than that, but if you have about 24 qualified leads and you're at a 25% close ratio, you're going to end up at about 60% of your growth goal for the year. Alternatively, if you're functioning like some of the most successful MSPs, and you're able to increase those close ratios to 50% or more, and I'm going to share with you how we increased it to 70%, then you are going to hit your growth goals and maybe even then some. So it can have a huge impact on the success of making your goals for the year. And of course, when we look at goals, we have to also look at attrition rates. And shortly, Lisa's going to be sharing on how you can reduce your attrition rate. But if you're just looking at, this example, if you have a modest 3% attrition rate, that means that you have to add 2 more new businesses at an average of, 3,000 MRR in order to hit your growth goals. So both are extremely important to the success of you making your goals.
So critical to that success. It's important for everybody to understand why this is important and the real dollars that impact our MSPs. So here's our strategy to success today. We're going to identify what causes silos in our sales and service departments. We're going to talk about processes and templates. Dory has some specific templates to success and some processes. So you're going to want to take notes and take some screenshots of what we're showing you. And then I'm going to close it out with key verbal and nonverbal behaviors, because truthfully, at the end of the day, clients buy based on how they feel. Do they trust you? Do they feel that you're going to be the one that is going to secure them, make them more productive, and really make them clients ready and to say, yes, let's sign that contract and we want to stay. So that takes teamwork. So I'm Lisa Shore, and I'm excited to be here to talk to you. Eric already introduced us. And Dory, hello. I'm so excited we're together.
Yes, really excited. Great to be presenting to everyone today and looking forward to later on understanding some of the questions and comments that you all have. But just to briefly say that over my 17 plus years as an MSP, I worked with MSPs ranging from around 8 million to over 100 million. And I was responsible to build structure around very large, fast growing MSPs. But in my most recent MSP, I was brought on for us to be able to grow a region that we got through acquisition. And we were not always functioning at the level that we needed to be at. We weren't rowing in the same direction. This was our goal. And this is an image of how I had a vision for what we would be. But when I started in that position, even though I knew that there were challenges with the retention of both staff and clients, I really didn't know the extent of it until I'm sitting in the office. I've got half the staff that I need to really support the customers that we do have. And I'm getting cancellation notices on my desk almost weekly. In fact, I remember the first time I got a registered letter, I'm like, oh, wow, I wonder what this is. And unfortunately, it was a cancellation letter from one of our largest clients. And that situation continued on. So I knew from there that I really had to start building a cohesive team that looked more like this, with everybody rowing in the same direction. And I'm going to take you through how we managed to build that team and have double-digit growth and about a 70% conversion ratio on new business sales.
It's all about rowing in that same direction. And so Dory has that success story of turning around her MSP. So I'm Lisa Shore, and I own an MSP also called Secure Future Tech Solutions. And I'm also a business coach. I became a business coach because of this experience. So more than a decade ago, our MSP was fired. So think to yourselves, have you been fired? And think, why were you fired? Really think about it. Was it really pricing? Was it really a technical skill? Or was it because of your communication skills? For us, it was because of our phone skills. Our client of 10 years, it was a car dealership, said, every time I call your office, your team acts as if they have no idea who I am. Our team was not trained to demonstrate urgency, was not trained to demonstrate empathy. So we did the job and we gave great customer service, but what we were missing out on was really thinking in terms of client experience. So getting fired created a new trajectory for us on how to turn this around. How did we turn around a ship that was sinking? So Dory had it in her MSP, we had it in our MSP, and we made change. So we're excited to share with you today how both of those success stories resulted in rowing in the same direction and how you can do this too. All right, Dory. So why don't you kick it in? You know what? This slide is so true.
It really is. I mean, Lisa, when I talk to a lot of my clients that I help with them with their goals, a lot of times they'll say that they're having a problem differentiating themselves. But that's mostly due to the fact that they're focusing on what they're doing and not how they're doing it.
Correct.
So we know that it's the how that often makes the difference. And that's what we're going to talk about.
And let's kick that right in. So let's first talk about, Dory, some of the key causes of silos in an MSP. So let's envision this, everybody. Imagine this is your MSP And these are some of the departments within your organization. You've got sales, you've got service, you've got executive leadership, you've got account management. And oftentimes the mindset is I've got my own department, my own job, my own, and ne'er these departments shall meet. It's critical to think that, you know what, we all need to know what each is doing, and we all need to be a part of each person's process to create that winning client experience, that winning prospect experience, because we want to grow those close ratios. So think back, what is your current close ratio? How are you closing those deals? How are you struggling with those close rates? Could it be because of all of these silos? So Dory, here are some reasons and some causes of these silos.
Yes, so when we look at silos, I think we have to ask what is causing those silos within the organization. And one thing, and specifically between sales and service, but as you said, there's silos in other areas of the organization as well that need to be addressed. But when it comes to salespeople and services people, we often find that there's competing priorities. So salespeople tend to be yes people, right? Because that's what their role is to get to the yes. So that's what they need to be successful in their role. On the other hand, services people are sometimes thought of as no people. Now, for my tech friends and services folks out there, don't take this as a criticism, because it's really what your role is. One of your most important priorities is to mitigate risk for the organization. So you look at things a little differently. You're troubleshooting, you're looking for where the issues may lie, and you're more likely to say no to things that you think may introduce unnecessary risk to the organization. So they're both very, very important, but unfortunately, sometimes those two will cause issues and frustrations between sales and service. And these are often exasperated when services or the technical team is not incorporated into the sales process. And Lisa, tell us a little bit about where EQ and communication training can also come into the formula for success.
Thank you. So absolutely. And these are some major, and I'm curious to hear what you guys would add to your, what else causes silos in your MSP. But so we had a lead the other day that came to us. It was like a full circle moment that said, every time my current IT provider, deals with us, I have to share all over again my story, my problems, my issues. They don't know who different team members are. So we're lacking in that. So that IT provider was lacking in emotional intelligence and communication training. Emotional intelligence is our ability to identify the emotion of the situation and how you feel. But then the second piece of that, because you're justified in how you feel, but the second piece is, how do you deliver a response that supports the situation? When a client is calling our MSP, your MSP, they're stressed, they're frustrated, they're confused. Maybe they're under a deadline and they're getting pressures. So we have to think about how we communicate and talk to our team about that. And so, we just brought on a great lead, and cross your fingers, we closed the deal, but a great lead because of a lack of communication training and being emotionally intelligent to a client. What a full circle moment to us getting fired more than a decade ago. And then there's also sometimes this lack of trust between sales and service. Maybe sales is a little nervous that service will say no to something when they're trying to close a deal, or maybe they'll be a little bit more technical, or service is nervous about sales taking on a project that they're going to have to figure out how to complete. So there's a lot of mindset going on that creates these silos. But let's talk about how we can now break down these silos and work together and collaborate, so we really create that winning prospect experience and we keep those clients. So we have the two processes. Dory's going to start us off with intentional processes. And then I'm going to talk about getting your team client and prospect ready. All right, Dory, kick us off.
Yep. So 3 quick tips on being able to increase your close ratios and being able to have a team that's all rowing in the same direction. So first of all, you need to start by building your dream team. Now, the dream team is a sales team, but it's not comprised of just sales, because remember, we want an inclusive team that really speaks to the needs of the clients. So yes, you have your sales rep. Your sales rep is responsible for qualifying leads. They're responsible to understand where the pain points are with the clients and communicate to the rest of the team who the stakeholders are. But also it's important to include an executive leader, somebody that can have that peer-to-peer conversation with the executive of the prospective client. And it'll be a business-focused conversation. And you'll see later on when we talk about how do we present our findings to our clients, that these conversations that the executive leader has becomes very important in having client-focused proposals. And then, of course, we need to have our technical leader. But the technical leader isn't just somebody that has strong technical experience, though, of course, that's very important as well. But it also needs to be someone that is comfortable having client-facing conversations and somebody that's able to communicate the technology in layman's terms, if you will, to prospective clients. And then last but not least, a client success manager. Now, a lot of you may be asking, why in the world would I include a client success manager in new business generation type of processes? Well, it's important to keep in mind that though your goal is to get to the yes, to get to the agreement with the client, that's not how the client is looking at it. The client is looking at it as, what will this partnership look like once
Right.
you sign on the dotted line? And incorporating your client success manager or some examples about client success, how your what you do for your quarterly business reviews, what type of information do you provide, how do you handle those impromptu needs that they may have that are outside, like help desk and direct services. So being able to give the prospective client a snapshot of that becomes very, very important. So you'll know that you have a really solid dream team when everybody is working towards the same yes, and everybody's working towards a partnership, not just the pitch.
I also love, Dory, that you're with having that client success manager and the technical leader. It sets the prospects expectations of what's to come. Right? A lot of misunderstandings and mistrust comes in because there's just not that clarity of what's coming next. And so this dream
Absolutely.
team definitely supports that. I love that.
Yeah. And once you have your dream team in place, it's important to look at your client facing documents. You know, a lot of times, as I said, MSPs will say that they can't differentiate themselves. But I have seen many times that proposals, for example, are very focused to the MSP, not to the client. This is the opportunity where you can demonstrate to the client that you really understand their business needs. And so you're going to incorporate what the executive leader talked to their peer about into your proposal. So for example, I have seen executive summaries in a proposal which were very focused to information either all about the MSP or about the technical needs of the client. But if your executive summary really focuses on the business needs of the client, it allows the clients to understand that you know what their priorities and challenges are and how you can align your services to those needs. So go through each and every one of your client-facing documents and make sure that they're very focused to the client. You'll know that they're focused toward the client when they're talking more about them than you're saying us or we. And when it's focused more toward the outcome than it is towards the actual what it is. So the why it's important versus what's important. And don't forget to use the agendas, because agendas can be the glue that holds the sales cycle together. That's the opportunity to make sure that when you're having a meeting with the client or internally, you all understand what's going to be discussed, who the stakeholders are that will be in the meeting. And if you send it out ahead of time, the client has an opportunity to make sure that you're on the same page with them. And if they want to make suggestions, they can. So don't forget the small stuff, because again, it's not just what you do, but how you do it. So that's step number 2.
And all those little details, Dory, that you might think that they're little, but every single template here is critical to demonstrate your organization and create that perception, because a confused buyer just doesn't buy. So I take a screenshot of this, everybody. This is a really important checklist for you.
And then last but not least, once you have your dream team and you have your client facing documents ready, it's really important to build a repeatable workflow. Now, the workflow allows you to make sure that everybody knows exactly what role they play, when they're to play it, and how communication is going to work. So in order to develop this repeatable workflow, sit down with your team and map out exactly the process from a qualified lead to the close. Ask yourself questions such as, what is the communication process going to be? Are you going to have certain milestones where you have internal meetings, or where you share specific documents, maybe a scope of work over Teams or something like that within the organization? At what point are you going to introduce the executive sponsor? That person may not get introduced right away. But you need to know what is your standard for that. Same with when are you going to introduce your technical leader? And maybe, Lisa, I know a lot of MSPs will have some complimentary service where they may offer to do some kind of technical assessment. When is that going to happen in the sales flow? So once you have the sales flow completely mapped out, you build it into a process, you're ready to go to market. And not only does this help you with your professionalism, with sharing within the organization so that everybody's working towards the same yes. But this process can also be used when you bring on new people into the organization, because now you can share that with them. So very, very important steps. And I know that this helped us get from where we were kind of bailing out every day to being able to have double-digit growth and 70% close ratios.
This is also something that I think I want everyone to be in the mindset of. It doesn't matter the size of your MSP, whether you're small or large or whatever your size in between. Having process like this is critical to scaling. And being, like Dory mentioned, bringing on new employees and onboarding those new employees, it creates a predictable process and cuts down that training time immensely. So, and that's the name of the game. The quicker we can service clients and be present for them. So again, this is another workflow that Dory has that I just find invaluable, absolutely invaluable. That's for sure.
Thanks, Lisa. And I know everybody needs to hear and wants to hear what can they do now that they've closed those deals to be able to make sure that they retain the clients.
So let's talk about the human side of our MSP. So the humans of your MSP are the most important asset. Believe it or not, it's not all the technical, your tech stack and all that, which are critical to success, but who's selling it? Who's maintaining it? Who's developing those relationships? It's the humans within your company. And remember back to my story of getting fired and Dory's story of also getting fired in all of those letters and certified letters of saying we're leaving. We have to take a stance of client experience, but on the human side. So this is what our team looked like back then. We literally would sit at a table and we just didn't understand each person's role at the company. I like to be a little controversial and say everybody is a leader at an IT business. Everybody is a leader. They should be a leader and take charge of their role and understand that leaders collaborate. They bring people together. This is what our conference room table used to look like. We weren't collaborating. Service was frustrated with sales. There wasn't an understanding. We needed to make that change. So I'm proud to share this is what my team looks like now. My team collaborates. There are client issues. We talk about them. We're able to, we don't have to be yes people all the time and agree with everything, but we have an ability to communicate and have an empathy for each other and an appreciation for each person's department. So I'm really proud to share this. So let me give you 3 areas to start in your MSP. Let's start with 3 key areas on what to say and how to talk to your team. Each of these can be a staff meeting discussion. So start with verbal communication, what we say. It's that tone of voice. Listen to phone calls, listen to different meeting conversations, listen to service calls. How is everybody communicating with each other? Are you calling each other names? Are you communicating with empathy, emotion? Or are you sounding edgy and frustrated or disinterested? All of those tones have an impact in developing a perception. An image is all about perception. And people stay because of how they perceive they're being treated. And we want them all to feel like they're being treated like a VIP. The next is clarity. Are we communicating with clarity? Are we speaking in geek speak? Are we logging in and doing a remote support session without communicating that we're doing it or why we're doing it? Are we setting expectations at the service desk level, saying, okay, client, I need to log into your computer. It's going to be about 15 minutes or whatever you can say, but you're going to see my mouse milling around your screen. Just want you to know I'm going to be doing some research. So there's a way to say it. And when we have that clarity, we really mitigate that miscommunication. And we also want to make sure that we know from each team member, what are we asking for? What do you want from each other? What do you want from the client? If you're doing a QBR, part of the process, one of the templates Dory just showed was the QBR process. When you're in those QBRs, are you asking specific questions or sharing specific concerns of the client so that they understand? The last piece that we talked about is consistency. When we don't have consistency, then a client or prospect loses trust. It breaks credibility. And so when we talk about image and soft skills and communication skills like this, it's not a one and done conversation. There's a variety of conversations I'm going to share with you at the end, a couple of staff meeting discussion ideas. But start here, and here's some of the outcomes. You can decrease miscommunication. Your team feels valued and heard. The teams are understood about what the mission is. I think the picture that Dory selected for rowing in the same direction should be all of our mantras, right? For running a business, we should all be rowing in that same direction. And that really helps to improve team culture, which then begets much better client experience. Because you have all those close ratios, but when you have a high churn rate, you got to work even harder to close more deals. So let's talk about ways to keep everybody happy. So that's the communication side. We would be remiss if we didn't talk about nonverbal messaging. So imagine this is you on the left with that cloud migration picture. How do you think this makes your client feel? If you're in a meeting and your phone, your watch is buzzing, you're getting an email, you're getting an alert, and you're looking away. Let's think about how your client feels. Maybe you're in a staff meeting and you have a distracted team. How does it make you feel? So how it makes you feel will equate to how it makes your client feel too. Now, on the other picture, there's no wrong answer here, right answer or wrong answer. Imagine this is your employee on a staff meeting. How do you think she's feeling? What do you think she's looking like? Interested, disinterested?
Frustrated.
Frustrated? Yeah. I love that. So that's a perception. And everybody's perception is reality. So we have to remember that we're selling to all kinds of humans who were raised differently. So our nonverbal messaging, our posture, our eye contact, putting away distractions really makes a difference. We want to make our teams feel valued and heard through positive actions, and of course our clients and prospects too. Being present demonstrates that involvement in the process and really minimizes misunderstandings. We're not great at multitasking. We might think we are, but we miss a lot in the translation or in the messaging. Now, thankfully, we have a lot of AI readers out there that can capture notes and take transcriptions and things, but we want to demonstrate that presence. We want to, of course, improve that team culture and provide that high level of service to our clients. So here's a final checklist for all of you. You have Dory's checklist for your processes and templates. Now, that's the framework. Now here's your teamwork side of things. Prepping your team to be client ready is critical. So first, I want everybody to think that leadership, mindset, behavior is key. You set the tone. The leader of a company, the manager of a department, your team will follow. So if your mindset is anything but growth mindset positive, that energy will be picked up. Sharing corporate goals so everybody is rowing in that same direction. People want to feel that they're part of the cause, part of that growth. But they also just want to understand why they're there. What's the mission? What's the goal? What are we striving for? Ongoing training on what client success looks like is key. It's not a reactive conversation. I'm making the case that soft skills and communication training is part of your onboarding process and set expectations there. It's part of staff meeting discussions and constantly reiterated and validated. Schedule staff meetings for everybody and all departments. I highly recommend that sales and service actually get together and hear their accomplishments, hear the wins, hear maybe some of the struggles. It'll make sales even more capable and empathetic when they hear some of the strategies, some of the wins, some of the struggles that service is experiencing. And let us leave you with a couple of topics for staff meeting discussions. What does empathy look like for your MSP? So having that discussion is key so that you start to create that culture shift and that mindset shift. And what are examples of setting client expectations? So asking, what does it look like when we're setting expectation with a client? Maybe it's when you're logging in remotely. Maybe it's when they can expect an invoice. Maybe it's when they can expect a deployment, or maybe they're going to have some downtime because you're doing a migration of sorts. Having that communication is critical. So Dory and I are honored to be here. We're happy to be your bridge to success. Thank you so much, Wes, Eric, Princess, everybody for having us today. Any last thoughts, Dory?
Just to reiterate that we really appreciate this. This is all for a great cause, and we hope we brought great value to our listeners today. And we're looking forward to the feedback. And if any of you would like any further help from Lisa and I going forward, please feel free to reach out or connect with us on LinkedIn. We look forward to hearing from you.
Dory and Lisa, a fantastic job. Thank you so much. What a great conversation. And I especially keyed in when you talked about, this is about humans. This is not about technology. This is about people connecting with people. People don't trust brands. They haven't done that since our grandfather bought a Buick and thought it was the greatest car ever, right? We trust human beings. You can't trust a logo. It's an inanimate object. Such a powerful message. Would both of you mind putting your LinkedIn link in the chat for others? So
absolutely,
that they can connect with you. If anybody has any questions, click on it looks like a little chat bubble in the left at the top of your chat. If you have a question, ask it over there, and we'll get it up on the screen and have Dory and Lisa answer it. There we go. Lisa's up there.
I have to.
Now,
I'll put mine up in just a moment. Lisa
I just
probably has hers memorized.
Well, I just put my name there because you can easily find Lisa Shore, and I'll come right up for you.
Yep, same here.
Lisa, let's see. Person being-
We do indeed have
Yeah.
a question, which is, what is your number one secret weapon for expanding regionally well? From Charlie Van New.
Expanding regionally, I would say that each region needs to have also their own workflow that flows into the larger entity as well. But it can't be just about the larger entity. So each region has to have their own dream team, unless they're using like corporate folks. But go through the same exercises and make sure that you're as crisp as possible on each step in the process. Lisa, I don't know, probably
I'd say
similar for you, right?
marketing is key. You know, from my perspective, you've talked about the process side, and I think if you're going to be expanding regionally, I think that really understanding the market, there are other MSPs out there that you want to connect with. But for me, it's like finding a target audience. For us to expand, it's really understanding. So I'm in Rhode Island, and I'm in my MSP services Connecticut, Rhode Island, and Massachusetts. Our target audiences are the legal industry and property management industries. So we find opportunities to build our brand within those areas. And we do that through associations and really finding where will my client be. So there's the Massachusetts bar, there's the Rhode Island bar, and there's the Connecticut bar. And so I'm going to make a presence at all of those locations and start establishing my credibility and establishing that, hey, I'm there and we exist. And you start expanding that way. And eventually we'll have enough business. Right now we have business in Boston area, but not enough to really hire a staff person. But eventually we'll put a staff person in there, and then they will be able to be our Boston-based technician or engineer or staff person there. So I hope that answers your question or gives you some ideas, Charlie. And thank you for asking it.
It looks like that is the only question that we have.
I do want to comment, if I may. Charlie made a great comment that he did over 100 in-person meetings last year, and he broke every sales record in his company. So let's all give Charlie a shout out. Woo! For that. And you can't beat face-to-face. You're absolutely right, Charlie. We'd rather hide behind our monitors, but we have to be face-to-face. People love to see eye contact, a great handshake, and be together. So there's something magical that happens to build relationships when we're together. So it's very magical.
Yeah, Charlie did say earlier up on step one, don't lie in the sales process. Trust over tech.
Mm-hmm.
Building the relationship is the most important. People buy into partnerships. So, yeah.
That's exactly right.
That's true. And people remember my story of getting fired. For goodness sake, think about your stories. Think about your churn rate. And then
Hi, Preston. I see Preston Taylor there.
Yeah.
I see Preston Taylor having a comment. Hi, nice to hear from you. I met Preston at Coaching Cafe at one of the last conferences, and I know he's in sales, but he's actually giving kudos to Charlie. So I guess you guys are on the same team.
I love it. I love it. Anybody else? Any other questions that we can answer?
Kevin Anderson, he's out from our area. Lisa, he's in Worcester.
Hi, Kevin.
And thank you very much for the compliment. He's saying we killed it. I'm very happy about that.
Thank you. Much appreciated.
Thanks for joining, Kevin.
I love it. Fellow New Englander.
Yes, absolutely. And Kevin has a unique business model where he helps the end customer organizations to select the right MSP for them.
Love that.
So that's a great business model as well.
That's wonderful. All right.
Love it.
Oh, thank you.
Love it. Fantastic job, you guys. What a great talk. What a great talk.
Thank you so
you.
much. Thanks for
It
having
really
us.
can be a burden in a business, and I should say a bottleneck to our business if we don't open up our mindset to really breaking down those silos. It's a
There,
true bottleneck.
yeah, there's a common theme that we're seeing happening at Rejection Con. There's Jordan Silva that is talking about culture inside your organization. I'm talking Friday about the fact that as an MSP, you are a commodity. And if you don't figure out a way to not be a commodity, you will just simply evaporate.
100%.
You know, we're seeing a lot of this happening through Rejection Con. And it's great to see that we're finally starting to realize that to be a business, you can't just sell the tech.
Can't.
Right.
No,
It
we're
takes a
a
lot more than
customer
that.
service business that happens to sell. We're a client. Let me change that. We're a client experience business that happens to sell tech
That's
work,
right.
tech solutions.
That's right. Yep.
You got to shift the mindset.
People do not buy Nike because of the shoe. They're not buying a shoe. They're not buying a logo or a brand. They're buying into a tribe.
Right. 100%.
So I don't think.
Eric,
Oh, wait,
we'll look
wait.
forward to
Yep.
hearing your presentation in a couple
Wait.
of days, and thank you again.
Wait, we have one more question. We have one more question, and we have 3.5 minutes to go. So from Isabel Schmidt, what ratio of video versus in person do you think is reasonable? I can do 5+ meetings a day on Teams, 1 or 2 in person.
Dory, may I start there?
Please, yes.
So video is good, but video is helpful, and you can see eye to eye. But there's something magical, Isabel, of being physically in person and connecting. We're humans, and the nature of a human is to be able to connect. And my one thought as an image professional and image consultant is, are you turning your video on? So first of all, I was in a sales meeting the other day with an MSP prospect who didn't turn his camera on the whole conversation. And he's like, oh, you don't want to see me. You don't. And I'm like, yes, I do. I want to see what you look like. I want to connect. There's power in our eyes. So I would really, if you can, Isabel, try to make as many in-person meetings. But if you are going to do video, then make sure all your tech is working, your microphone, your lighting is great, and your camera is on. That's critical. So
I would just like to add one thing. When you're trying to determine, when you're building out your repeatable process, try to think in terms of which meetings are just factual meetings and can be done over Teams, and which meetings are more relationship building meetings and should be done in person. So rather than looking at like out of 10 opportunities, how many do I meet over Teams versus in person, look at for each client opportunity, how many meetings am I going to do in person? Because there is something to be said for the efficiency of Teams meetings or remote meetings as well. So I think it needs to be a good balance. And also today, it's not always possible to meet in person because we have a lot of national or even global teams. So kind of balance that as well.
There is a balance. And I think you bring up a good point. As you're establishing initial relationships with clients, having in person as many as you can is critical. It humanizes you. It just makes you attainable, humanizes you. It develops that, not friendship, but that partnership that you so badly need, because you want to be viewed as a trusted advisor, not just as their tech vendor.
And don't forget to bring food.
Yes, actually,
Always
that's a
bring
great
donuts.
idea. You can bring all kinds of snacks, food, donuts, what have you, coffee. And that's a great way for surprising them and adding a little bit extra,
Perfect.
but only for a specific branch. I love that. Everyone has got the right attitude. You've got discovery is everything, but it's not just discovering their tech needs. It's also discovering their personality. Who are they as a human, and how are they hard charging? Like a lot of lawyers are very hard charging and want information and want you to speak more direct, not curt and not with a tone of arrogance, but just give me the information I need. But then there are some who really want to be spoken to and explained and take the time. And so each client, as you're doing your discovery on the technical side of what their business is and needs, I want you to also now think about discovering each person's personality
Great
and how
advice.
to communicate.
All right, we are over time, so we need to go. Everybody in the upper right, click on schedule, go find your next session, and we will see you there. Dory and Lisa, thank you so
Thanks,
much.
everyone.
Our
Thank
pleasure.
you so much. Bye-bye.
Take care.